Namaste. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I trust you are feeling as well as you can be at this time. Before our first guests arrive, I'd like to start off our Shravana with an invocation to the Gayatri Mantra. So you are more than welcome to join along if you know it with me. I'm going to first do 3 Omkaras, followed by the Gayatri Mantra. Swaha tatsaviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. Namaste, dear Gregorji. Welcome. Namaste, Ragnahildar. Namaskaram, dear user 475. Very grateful to be here. Hello, dear Stormy Ariel. I'd like to set the intention for this space, now that I have a moment at the beginning here to create an atmosphere of positivity for us to come together as fellow students of life, regardless of where we come from, to whom we hail, and how we are feeling, to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, to overall build bridges, find connections, common ground, and just let go of whatever we're going through that is no longer serving us. We all deserve to be happy. You deserve to be happy. May we continue to express that source of happiness here. Thank you, dear Lena Bean. You're very welcome, dear user 475. The Mixology Mix Show. You ask an interesting question. Is it okay to be Christian but also follow Hindu/Buddhist beliefs? That's a very good question, and I love the interfaith and multicultural inquiries we have here. Of course, it's always up to the individual what they choose to follow or believe in, and I think there is a unified essence between many different religions, and no matter what tradition you're a part of, you are going to be inherently following principles from other religions because there's so much overlap, whether you consciously know that or not. So I do believe there is something complementary between religions. You don't have that or not. So I do believe there is something complementary between religions. You don't have... So I hope to be back in a second. If my connection has returned, please let me know. I believe it did glitch for a second. We're back, thank you. Yes. Thank you, dear Starseed Sisterhood, for the TikTok Heart Me and Team bracelet. Thank you for blessing our Sangha so early on, and I hope to give back even more in terms of value in the space that we all share. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste, dear Giget. Is that how I pronounce your lovely name? Or is it Giget? Or Giget? Or Giget? So many different combinations. You can let me know if there's a way that you would prefer me to say your name. Yes, well said, dear Starseed Sisterhood. Hello, dear SJM. There's room for everyone to share knowledge. It's Gadget. Awesome. Thank you. Namaste. Good reminder, dear Greg RG. You hope you guys save your jack-o'-lantern's insides as to make scrumptious pie. Always a good reminder. Indeed. And you can cook the seeds. Those are delicious too. If you like chewing. If you don't take off the outside layer of the pumpkin seeds, you'll be chewing for a while. Thank you, dear Natasha, for the rose you sent. Om Namah Shivaya. Hello, dear Jasmine. Namaste, dear Anazak. I am happy you all are here. Today I'd love to start off our live with another show and tell. Something from you. I have the perfect thing today, and that is a poem from Angela. This poem is called Where the Soul Finds Peace. Before I read and show you the image that goes along with this poem, I'd like to read to you what this poem means to Angela. She writes, "The sudden loss of someone close to me has made me deeply reflect on my own mortality. It is difficult to accept that we are born only to die, and I find myself yearning to believe there is something more beyond this life. I take comfort in knowing that two religions that deeply intrigue me, Christianity and Hinduism, while they differ, offer profound perspectives on the afterlife. This poem is my way of weaving together these philosophies while expressing my thoughts and feelings on this mysterious journey." Well, that couldn't be more perfectly timed, as we were just talking about the integration of two of these belief systems. Alright, now I'd like to do my best to read the poem. Comes with a beautiful image. I'd like to show you that image. And then, because the text is small, I'll probably have to zoom in for you. But we see this beautiful woman who appears to be blowing on a flower, maybe to make a wish, or that's just how her lips are resting. Birds flying in the background, beautiful sunset over what looks like a vast field of flowers, clouds and beautiful flowers all around. Now let's see if I can zoom in and maybe make this a little more visible for you. If I just crop it right. Here. Where the soul finds peace. Sorry, I'm trying to wait until that banner drops. Or the banner that has dropped goes back up. Oh my goodness, now everything's blue. What have I done? Oh, I'm messing up everything. Alright, I'll just read it before I screw anything up more. Where the soul finds peace. I have wondered time and time again, where will I go if my life should end? Will I enter to a restful sleep, where my soul the Lord will keep? From my slumber will I rise, where the Lord is by my side? Will I travel along the Milky Way, where death awaits, and will I stay? Will I return to fix the deeds from which my troubled soul conceived? Or will rebirth never cease, as I long for sweet release? Oh, save my soul from perpetual returns, where lessons are never learned. May I transcend to moksha's embrace, where suffering ends and I find grace. In the arms of God may I finally rest in eternal union, where the soul is blessed. How lovely. I think we all can agree that we give big thanks to Angela for sharing such a relatable poem. I love the inclusion of the Sanskrit word moksha. That comes from the root muj, which means to release. The noun form moksha is release itself, liberation. Yes. All right. Thank you, dear Angela, for sharing that, and thank you everyone for listening. Ragnhildur says how beautiful. That touched your heart, shares Lena Bean. Gregor G shares that Angela is a lyrical artist. Very wholesome. Thank you, everyone. That's our show and tell for today. If you wanted to submit something, check out the application form in the link tree in my bio, and I look forward to seeing what you have to share. Namaste. What a great start to our Shravana today. Thank you, dear Anazak, for the heartme that you had sent. Om Bram Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Hello, dear Michelle. And namaste, dear Dr. Ginny. Namaste, dear Shakira. I'm happy you find my honesty and my frequently asked questions so relatable. Thank you for saying that. Namaste, dear Dr. Umar Kino. If I can pronounce your name better, do let me know too. And Radhe Radhe, dear Magdalene. You are all lovely people. I'm grateful to be here. Now I'd like to read from another chapter, from Hollywood to the Himalayas. This chapter is called It's Only the Body, Not the Soul, Chapter 36. May this reading touch your heart. Christmas, 1999. I found the perfect dress for you, my mom exclaimed triumphantly as she walked into my room, the bedroom in which I'd grown up. Come see it. It was December 1999, and I was in LA on a visit after being in India for nearly 3 years. My parents had decided to have a Christmas party. as it had been so many years since I'd been home for the holidays. I followed her into her bedroom, confused, as I didn't wear dresses anymore. "It's absolutely perfect. You'll love it." She put the treasures from her shopping trip onto the bed. I can't believe I found something so perfect at the last minute. She pulled a gift box from a large Ann Taylor shopping bag. It covers your arms all the way to the wrists and your legs all the way to the ankles. It has fully covered shoulders too. It's perfect. She was beaming from ear to ear. In the early years, before I officially took sannyas, which is renunciation into Hindu monkhood, Pujya Swamiji, my guru, always encouraged me to wear whatever my parents wanted when I was in Los Angeles. "Make them happy," he would remind me. "They have given you the freedom to move to India. At least you can dress how they want when you are together in LA. And anyway," he always emphasized, "it's only your body that's wearing the clothes, not your soul. They can't dress your soul." In those early days, before saffron robes became the extent of my wardrobe, when I was with my parents, I wore long skirts with loose flowery tops, or salwar kameezes, traditional Indian long cotton tops over matching pants cinched by drawstring. My cotton skirt and salwar kameezes, I don't know how to pronounce this word, were not, however, dressy enough for a Christmas party. I'd assume I would just wear a sari. My mom was excitedly pulling the pink tissue paper off my perfect new dress. She lifted it out of the box. She took it loose and held it up in front of me. "Isn't it perfect?" It was black. Los Angeles December evening wear was, in 1999, black by default. But I was a renunciant, a nun, about to be ordained into saffron-robed sannyas. In traditional Hindu lineages, renunciants wear white prior to ordination and saffron/orange after, although I wore white for many years after ordination as well. Yellow is also acceptable. It is the color of brahmacharis, religious students. But black, no one spiritual wears black, I thought. "Try it on," my mom encouraged me. She had no idea how not perfect the dress was. I pulled it over my head, sliding my arms into the tight black sleeves. As I smoothed the dress over my torso, I realized that, yes, quite literally, my mom was right. It did cover my whole body: arms, legs, wrists, ankles, shoulders. However, that which is acceptable by the letter of the law is not always acceptable by the spirit of the law. The dress was skin tight. It looked as though someone had painted it on me with a black acrylic brush. Neck to hips, it was tighter than the leotards I'd worn in my failed attempts at childhood gymnastics. It hugged my hips in a drop waist and then flowed out onto the floor. I dug my fingernails into the palms of my hand and bit down on the side of my tongue to fight back tears. "It's only your body, not your soul. Only your body, not your soul. Only your body, not your soul." I chanted to myself desperately, clinging to the words as though they were a life raft in the ocean about to swallow me. "Oh, you are gorgeous. You are like a model. You have such a beautiful body. I don't know why you don't want to show it more." A river of compliments gushed from my mother's mouth. "Look in the mirror. You are so gorgeous." She cooed in that way that only mothers can while beholding their daughters dressed for special occasions. I couldn't look. It was all I could do to not collapse in tears on the floor of her bedroom. Did she really understand so little? My mother's a smart woman, not just book smart, but also deeply insightful about other people's lives and psychology. How could she think I would be happy in skin-tight black Hollywood wear? Come on, look in the mirror, she said, oblivious to the struggle I was going through. She had spent hours of her otherwise busy day shopping for me, searching, I am sure, with great frustration for something that fulfilled all my criteria. In a well-intentioned effort to prevent any last-minute conflict over what I'd wear, she had shopped in advance. I had to raise my gaze from the ohms I was drawing on her carpet with my eyes, trying unsuccessfully to meditate myself out of the current situation. I glanced quickly into the mirror next to my parents' fireplace, and the tears finally rushed, unabated, into and through my eyes. The woman in the mirror was not me. "Why are you crying?" my mom exclaimed. More a statement than a question. "How could you possibly be upset with this? It looks gorgeous, and it covers everything. What is wrong with you?" Rhetorical though I knew her questions had been intended, I finally spoke. "Look, Mom, if you want to go downstairs to the party and tell your friends a lie about who your daughter is and what my life is about, that is absolutely fine. I will stay in my room and meditate, read, and work. I will be very happy to do that. But if you want me to go to the party and speak the truth about who I am and what my life is, then I cannot wear this dress. That dress is a lie. I can't wear a lie and speak the truth." "Fine," she pronounced with less anger than I'd feared. "Wear a sari." She walked straight out of the room and down the stairs, leaving the Ann Taylor gift box and delicate tissue paper strewn on her bed. Later that evening, a close friend of my mom's, who knew what a powerful will she had, asked me how I'd managed to wear a sari to the party. I told her the story and brought her upstairs to see the dress. "Oh God," she said, laughing. "In that dress, you would have looked like the Urdu..." Oh, this is perhaps one of the most difficult to pronounce French words. The hors d'oeuvres, whatever that French dish is. We are not our bodies, of course. That is the bottom line of Eastern spirituality. You can imprison the body, but not the soul. You can burn the body, but not the soul. You can cut the body, but not the soul. This is the core teachings of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. We are, however, connected to our bodies. To deny the impact that the body has on our experience is to cut ourselves off from a powerful aspect of our sense of self. The body may not have any impact on the divine, eternal self, which is untouchable, but it certainly affects our individual self and our experience of that self. From landmark studies on the impact of simply holding a pencil between our lips versus our teeth, mimicking the physical musculature of a smile or a frown, to recent research regarding quote-unquote power stances, psychological research shows clearly that our felt sense of self is deeply impacted by even superficial variations in expression and posture. What we wear and our experience of ourselves impact and inform each other. We dress according to how we feel, and we feel according to how we dress. Dr. Phil Zimbardo's famous Stanford prison study and his later research into the Abu Ghraib prison scandal emphasized the importance of the uniform worn by the guards and prisoners in cementing their identification with their roles. Otherwise, well-adjusted young men and women become vicious and punitive in their identification with the guard's uniform they wore. So, what does the saffron color of the sannyasi's robe signify? It is, as Swamiji explains, the color of the sun at sunrise and sunset. The sun gives and gives all day long with no vacation, no hesitation, no expectation, and no discrimination. The sun doesn't wake up one day and say, "I don't feel like shining today." The sun never takes a break. When it is night for us in India, it is daytime for those in the US. When we have the short days of winter, our friends in the southern hemisphere have long days of summer. The sun does not discriminate. It does not shine on Jews and not Christians, or whites and not blacks, or Hindus and not Muslims. The sun shines for all and with no expectation. The sun does not shine more for those who do sun salutations or perform sun worship in the mornings. That is the way a sannyasi, spiritual renunciate, should live, giving and giving to all with no expectation, no hesitation, and no discrimination. Saffron is also the color of fire, the ultimate purifier. Maybe that's why they call it a purifier. Prior to taking sannyas, the initiate performs a yajna, or fire ceremony. I performed one for 7 days straight. And to that fire we offer all that is keeping us from being a pure vessel for the divine will. The fire purifies our desires, our attachments, our very selves, so that on the day we enter Ganga, the holy river, to emerge naked into a new birth. It is not only the clothes that have been removed, but all vestiges of the former self as well. It's not only the physical body that is purified, but also the longings and attachments of the emotional self. So, wearing saffron is not just something the sannyasis do because it's a uniform. The color has a deep and ancient meaning. Every time I drape myself in the saffron robe, I am reminded about who I am and what my life is for. A skin-tight black evening dress would have been a vivid reminder of who I am not. Thank you for listening. That was the end of the 36th chapter. Next time we'll learn more about sannyas, spiritual renunciation. Thank you for listening. I'm sure that experience of our dear author Sadhviji's is perhaps relatable in many ways to those of us who had to go through our parents asking us to wear this and not that when, even though they have good intentions, the way in which we want to express ourselves should be the way in which we are given the privilege to. All of the symbolism that it represents. Though we don't have to express ourselves in any way to be whole, as you are already always. How we express ourselves is how we share what's on the inside to the world. Namaste. That is our Shravana, so thank you for listening. Welcome everyone who joined while we were reading. Thank you, dear Marcy, for the Gigi and Rose. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Namaste, dear Nothing is Noise, and Mala Silver, and Dalita. Thank you for the heart me. Jaya Shri Rama. And thank you, dear Gina, for your heart, me too. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. Welcome, Taylin. Welcome, Claudia Sal. So let us transition now from our Shravana, from our hearing, to our Manana. That's right, dear Magdalene. Jared has graced you with a sub. I'm so happy to hear of your gratitude for their generosity. It's amazing how many subscriptions our community owes to Jared. I think about that often lately. Dear Katarina, you ask, how would one get through homelessness spiritually? You share that you and others are being kicked out by Monday. And pregnant, my goodness. Well, this universe, I know that it will not give up on its mothers. I have absolute certainty that you will not be left alone on the streets. You will be taken care of. And if somehow I can help with that, in whatever capacity I have, then it would be an honor. I'm very sorry to hear of that circumstance, something I wouldn't wish on anyone. But I would not worry. I trust that you will be taken care of. Now, to answer the question, though I do not feel you do have to worry about this, as I said, homelessness is not something that can happen to spirit, to soul. It can happen to body, but not to soul. Actually, soul is the home. Home is the place in which we return to in comfort and fullness. That is the nature of the soul itself. Remember that the soul is your doorway to the divine. It is the divine from one perspective. All souls are just different perspectives of the same divinity. It is like an infinite mansion with doors on each side. Each door is your soul to the same home that we all ultimately share. Having trust in the divine means taking refuge in that doorway of your very own self as spirit. Do not be discouraged. Every day that you wake up with confidence that goodness is possible, you begin to manifest that. And this universe certainly rewards those who are patient. I know that in time it may not appear initially, but eventually even this experience will become a blessing. The universe is saying, oh, no. This lovely being, they cannot raise a child here. I have something much better for you. You just have to allow this transition to take place and have full faith in that. But do not sit idly either. Faith does not mean you wait for the universe to do something for you. Faith means that you have patience with yourself and that that you do the best effort that you can possibly muster up, and know that that's enough to manifest all that is necessary for you and your loved one's happiness. And we can take a moment to pray for you and your loved ones. May dear Katerina find just the right place in order to settle down, even if there is some moving about from place to place over the next little while. May this be a portion of life where we look back and see all the goodness that was being offered. Let us bring our attention to the helpers, those who are kind and offer us a place to stay. May we become readily available for those blessings, and may we have trust that they're already on their way. May no one ever have to go without a roof over their head for long. And may they have solace in the security of a personal space to grow and watch our little ones grow. May it be so. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And I will keep you in my prayers, as I've been keeping many of you in my prayers already. Praying for dear Shadi's hysterectomy to go all right. For dear Sky Guardian to continue to find peace. For dear G to infinity, without revealing what I'm praying for, just to affirm to you that these promises I make to keep you in my prayers are still in my mind. For example, thank you, dear Dalita, for the pumpkin that you shared. Om Gamlir Mahangalikaye Namaha. And dear John Simon Ritchie, thank you for the heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And I love that you pray for everyone to have good health during the next month. That's one of the quickest ways to manifest your prayers, is to pray for others as well. Oops. I'm balancing a little mouse on my knee. Sometimes it falls. Namaste, dear Amber. Thomas, you ask if I speak Sanskrit. Pardon me. I know many mantras and words, and I can read and write Devanagari. But I couldn't have a conversation in it. I can say Namo Namaha, which is like saying hi. And then I can say love, prema, you, tvam, mantras for various blessings. But if you wanted to ask about the weather, no idea. Radhe, dear Zach. Dear insidiously Tara. I know calmness and being at peace is a possibility for you, and not just someday, but even now, if you believe in it, if you're open to it, you can hold your hand over your heart and you can let me transfer peace to you. Not because I'm so great, but because the divine is so great and allows us to be instruments to give peace to each other. And anyone can do that. Consensually. Dear Thomas, you wonder if I feel as though Sanskrit plays an important role in spirituality. It plays a very big role in my spirituality, for sure. I have fallen in love with the language itself, but there have been many, many, many great spiritual people who never knew a single word in Sanskrit. And it tells us that it's not necessary, of course. But it is a very spiritually revered language, along with many others. There are many spiritual ideas that have entered common speech that are still in Sanskrit, and we might not know that. Like if we're talking about karma, yoga, gurus, mantras, kundalini, chakras. If we're talking about the Buddha, or various titles of other spiritual beings like Mahatma of Mahatma Gandhi. These are all Sanskrit words, and each have a spiritual connotation. I will echo that, dear G to infinity. Such a collection of fiery energies tonight. We can face these challenges of our paths together. Mm-hmm. And if you find love here, I hope you stay in contact with each other. If you meet someone here, I hope you message them, and if they're open to it, you send them words of peace, reminding them. And if you're ever going through something, I hope you can trust another to confide in them. Now, dear Stephen, you ask if you're late. No, you're just on time. You were at an event talking about the life of Mama Cass Elliot. Would you tell me about this wonderful Mama? I would love to learn. Maybe you could share with me who they are and a fun fact from their life. I would like to know. I also have a question of the day for everyone here, if you're interested. Today I wonder, when it comes to our true self, what are we not? Process of elimination. Wise beings have once said that you cannot truly know what you truly are, but you can truly know what you're truly not. And what remains, that is who you are. It's a musical group from the 1960s. Is that right? G to Infinity. Oh my goodness. It's not a person. It's a musical group. Oh, my ignorance is showing. I'm sorry if that's the case. But still, I'd love to learn about them if you have something to share. And thank you, dear Giuliano, for your rose, your ice cream cone, your TikTok, and Gigi. Obrigado. Thank you, Tattvamasi, for your quintet of roses too. Om Sharim Mahalakshmiyai Namaha. Salutations to the form of the divine who yields prosperity. Alright, dear Gregorji, starting off the answers to our question of the day, you share the body. The body alone is not the true self. It occurs to us. Hello, dear Phoenix Witch. Dear Thomas, you share, in the end, we are not any of the identities that won't travel with us. I like that answer a lot. The ones that come and go as we come and go. Mama Cass Elliott is one of the members of a musical group. Okay, so I'm not completely wrong. Mashallah. Cool. That is a fun fact. Ragnhild, you share, we are not our mind or body alone. These are not the true self as they occur to us. Body, mind, and existence in some location, in certain time. Not place, not time, as these things also occur to us. Thomas, you add, we are not our nationality. We are not political persuasion. We are slivers of infinity. Dear Brokumler, you share, we are not the names, the labels, the thoughts, the emotions, the body, the senses. Dear Katharina, yes, please rest. Thank you for your prayers, and I will pray for you. It will be okay. I'm happy that you see both beauty and a friend in me, dear Shoshana. May your friend who has gone still find expression through your heart. Dear Talitha, you share, we are not evil. Yes. Dear Marcy, you share, we are not that which others mistake us to be. You are glad you're not your thoughts, share Stephen. And thank God for that. Dear Tattvam Asi, you share, we are not the knower or the known. is responsible for knowledge being acquired, nor are we anything that can be known according to our awareness. Phoenix Witch, you share you can't think of an answer right now. That's a good answer itself. You are not the one thinking of an answer right now. Yes. I like your association with set theory, dear Thomas. Set theory is the theory of all of mathematics. One day, mathematicians realized that they knew how to prove many things, but they didn't know how to prove that their proofs were right. I can prove that this is so, but how do I know that my proof itself is right? We need a foundation of mathematics that informs us how we can be sure of the proofs we make itself. What can truly exist? We need a theory of that. So mathematicians devise something called set theory, a most beautiful theory in which everything can simply be described only in terms of sets. And a set is just the most abstract and basic building block of everything in the mathematical universe. A set is simply something that can contain something or not. And through the relationship of things containing other things or not, the structure of everything is described. There is nothing other than just containment in relation to each other. They devised a series of axioms that described exactly what things could be contained within others and what could not. One of the axioms that they decided upon was the axiom called foundation, that if you keep opening up something and asking what's contained in that set, eventually you must reach a foundation that you can no longer open up. And that is the empty set. That if you open up anything iteratively, eventually you will arrive at a containment of nothing. And so, when you think of the mathematical universe in this way, you come to the realization that everything, therefore, is really just combinations of nothing being contained. And what is containing that? More combinations of things that contain nothing. But there is a distinction between an empty set, between that which contains nothing and the nothingness itself. The emptiness is the space of possibility. The container, the set, is an awareness of that. And they are inseparable. What is a container, if not just awareness, in the most abstract sense? If we talk about a set of things, we just mean an awareness containing those things, an acknowledgement, a semantic envelope And this is your nature. One's true nature is the awareness that contains the objects of our experience. And the objects of our experience at the ultimate foundational level is just combinations of emptiness being made aware of in different ways. And thank you, dear Starlight Wow, for the flowers you sent. Om Kham Jachnavyai Namaha. Statistics is a difficult trade, dear Thomas. I'm happy that is your forte. Back to the question of the day. Dear Shakira shares, we are not our cravings. True self, it is not. Good evening, dear Heather K. Hello, dear Hee. You were watching a video and it was saying how the ultimate level would be to be able to create anything, have any possibility. That is the source, isn't it? And thank you, Anazek, for your octet of roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Your body is a container. Indeed it is, dear Stephen. And I hope it contains some good food at the moment. Wonderful observations, dear Greg RG. And hello, user 364. Thank you for extending that offer to those around you, Bro Gumbler. Blue Lily, you share, I am not the thoughts that keep me from moving forward. True words. Thomas, you ask, to what extent is the true identity mutable? The expressions are infinitely mutable, but its source itself is immutable. All that can be already is, but the exploration of that in the form of expression, that is what is changing. Like if we consider the entirety of the universe, and we'll include other universes, all timelines, all superpositions of all of the particles in the universe. We consider every frame of time from every perspective. That is the ultimate. But it cannot be contained all at once. That would be Cantor's paradox. And you cannot have the set of all sets. At any moment, you can only acknowledge just some set. That set may indeed be infinite, but not so infinite that it contains all possible infinities. So as we move from one set to another, as our focus, then it appears that the world before us is changing, but really we are experiencing different slices of one unchanging, immutable whole. I like that, dear Hee. You felt like in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the ultimate question is a joke, as there is no answer. But what an answer the lack of an answer is. Sometimes absence can be a presence of its own. And as you have put it, for example, there is a kind of humor in it. Billy Blue, you share, I am not my fear of the future due to my past. Very true, dear Blue Lily. Dear Nick, you wonder what Mandala and Swastika symbolize. These are two Sanskrit words. You may be familiar, of course, with one of them in reference to World War II as a symbol of the Nazi Party, as they took the swastika and used it on their flags as an emblem. And they took a lot of different symbols from other cultures and did their own thing with them, which is very ironically counter to the symbolism of those very symbols. The swastika is actually a symbol of peace. And it's still used as a symbol of peace in India, Thailand, Tibet, many places in the East, especially in Buddhism. But you may be very interested to know that it's actually a letter from a script called Brahmi. Brahmi was the oldest script that we know of that was used to render Sanskrit. And in Sanskrit, let me just prepare my writing utensil. This is the letter O in Brahmi. That is the letter O. And if you put a dot next to it like that, that is the anuswara, the nasalized sound, which makes Om, which of course is the world's most famous mantra. Om. From all sounds, it is said they take their origin in this cosmic sound, Om, as the pranav. It's said that that sound is the source of all things. But it is typical to stylize the Om such that we rotate it on itself, and I think you can see where this is going. That if we add another O, 90 degrees, then it becomes the swastika. And usually we also add an anuswara around each corner too. Now I'm going to minimize it before anyone joins without the context that we're not using it in the sense of a discriminatory symbol, but the history of before that in ancient times. So the swastika and the dots around it was the stylization of Om. Nowadays we have a different symbol for Om, which is most common, and that is from the Devanagari script. And the dot is still there. I think that's the only thing that really has remained unchanged. The dot at the top is the anuswara, the nasalization. It's Om. it represents many things. It represents creation. At the beginning of the sound, there is an initial That represents creation. As it transitions through that represents preservation. And then when it finalizes with the nasalization sound, that represents, finality, dissolution. So it represents the process of existence coming into being, transforming, and then returning back to nothingness. A mandala, I'm not sure I'll be able to draw, but it's any of those very abstract and intricate designs that take the form of a series of rotationally symmetric drawings around a point. And, they make beautiful tapestries and art pieces. And it has the point of drawing your attention inward to fixate on one point, like a lotus. It has a very similar meaning. Just like Om represents the source of all things, so too a mandala represents a one singular point that is the source, and a radiation of form all around that, revolving around a single point. Om, I guess, is the sound form, and a mandala is the visual form. It's the yantra. It's the mantra and the yantra. We were talking about that yesterday. Mantra is the sound form, yantra is the visual form. Dear Greg RG, you share that the word itself means well-being, swastika. Oh, I never thought about that. I never thought about the etymology. Thank you. That ending, ika, is actually where we get the ik suffix in English, where we turn words into kind of just a general concept surrounding, like if we say there's fantasy and then something is fantastic, it's the essence of fantasy being applied in a more general sense. Of course, my brain lapses on all the different words that ends in ik, but there's a lot of them. You can turn many words into an adjective form just by placing ic at the end, ik. But that comes from Sanskrit too, from the ik, terror and terrific. Yeah, that's a good one. So swastika would be like the adjective form describing the essence of whatever swasta is. And if you say that's well-being, that makes sense. Good question, dear Nick. Om is the Brahma. Om is the Brahman. Just add an N to the end of that. And from that Brahman, you get Brahma, the creator indeed, Vishnu, the sustainer, and Shiva, the dissolver. All three are found within that Om as the sound of Brahman. Dear Gregor G, you share it's from Su and Asti, and then the Ika. Ah, that makes sense. Yes, due to Sandhi rules, if you have another vowel joining together with U, it becomes the semi-vowel V. So Suasti, Swasti. I like that. Asti means it is, I believe. It is, or just is. That leaves what Su means. So the being of Su, as you said, it was well-being. Su must mean well. If Asti is being, is the isness. And the Ika is the ness. So well-beingness. Swastika. 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 Interesting. Anyway, I should probably limit the amount of times I say that word, as I do not want any algorithm associating this live stream with iconography of you know what. Anyway, I'm sure it doesn't really matter, but just in case. Dear Gregor G, you share that perhaps yantra is specific for a deity, and a mandala can just be anything you like. I see where you're going with that. I think I can see the truth in that. I could also see it being that yantra is the more general term, and then when it's for a deity, that's called a murti, and then when it's more abstract and represents the formless, that's called a mandala. The word mandala itself literally means circle. It means that which goes all the way around. Mandala. And it's used in many different contexts. For example, it can also bring the essence of a chapter. A chapter of a book can be called a mandala. As in the Rig Veda, it's divided into 10 mandalas. And I suppose the way in which that relates to a circle is that in each mandala we come full circle of truth, that we make our way all around one exploration of truth, and then we start another cycle or circle. I'm happy that you find a lot of truth in that, dear Blue Lily. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is unfortunate that such a beautiful symbol has become such a trigger. Unjustly so, indeed. Fortunately, there is still a way that we can distinguish. For example, the way in which that symbol is used in the oppression of minorities, you'll notice that it usually rotates in one direction. That it bends in the clockwise direction. But the Brahmi symbol O, it bends in the counterclockwise direction. Now the original symbol could be used in both ways, and there was meaning for having it one way or the other. But fortunately, it seems like the oppressive symbol is only used in one way, so the other way still kind of has its distinct identity, but still I imagine that regardless of what direction you look at it, you'll probably know it as the oppressive symbol. Did I say that it was a letter in the Brahmi script? Yes, just instead of an N, as you've written, it's an M. Brahmi. It's a stylization of the letter Om. It's literally Om rotated on itself 90 degrees. Kind of like a mandala has rotational symmetry. To give you an example, it's as if we took a letter in English like like A. And then we rotated it on itself 4 times. You've made a symbol out of a letter by rotating it on itself. So that's a stylization of A. And it makes a pretty neat symbol. And so does the Om in Brahmi. Brahmi, Brahma, Brahman. So many ways we use that root Brahm. Brahmi means literally from Brahman, or Brahma, from the source, from the creator. That's right, dear Brocumbler. I was born in Canada, and I haven't left the country. Hello, dear Maggie. You've noticed that, dear Grey Karji, that Ganesha is also different if his trunk points left or right. Yeah, I don't know the symbolism of the meaning of whether Ganesha's trunk points in different directions. There's a lot of iconography that has parity, has handedness, whether it's a holding something in its left hand or right hand. Like Hanuman, the monkey god. I know that if his right leg is the one that he's putting his weight on or is up, then that's the one that represents either Shakti or Bhakti. Either the energy to create, preserve, or destroy, Shakti, or loving devotion, Bhakti. Dear Nick, you ask if Brahman means source. It has a lot of different translations, and none of them in particular are absolute, but yes, that is one translation that makes sense for Brahman. Thank you, dear Hybrid Jen, for the rose that you sent. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Handedness is a fascinating thing. We should expect that it doesn't matter. That people equally use their left hand or right hand in the same proportion. But there's a clear preference for right-handedness. My mother has a friend and I have his book somewhere. Called something I can't remember. And it was about why our brain has lateralization, why some things of our life appear to have a preference for one side than another when it seems unnecessary, when we are such symmetric beings. It's a really big question that my mom's friend has spent his whole life, basically, adult life, studying. And I had dinner with him one time, and so I asked him, so what's the conclusion? Why, in all of your decades of studying, why are most people right-handed? And he said, I don't know. He said, I think we finally know why there is a preference. And that's because the bridge between the left and right side of the brain, it takes it takes too long for signals to travel from one side to the other if you're in a situation where you need to act quicker than that. Which means that for most people, it takes a much shorter amount of time to just react with one arm or one leg rather than both for the signal to travel across. So that explains why there is a lateralization, but not why most people are right-handed. In physics, too, there seems to be a preference. Previously, physicists thought that if the whole universe was mirrored, then it should behave the same way. You would expect the laws of physics shouldn't change if it's mirrored. Everything would just happen mirrored. No interaction would happen any different. But it turns out that a mirror universe would behave really differently. That parity actually affects laws of physics, and for no good reason. You know, if something rotates clockwise, why does clockwise have any preference more than counterclockwise? Physicists say, for some reason, the universe does have a preference. Thank you, dear Hybrid Jen, for your witchy kitty. Om Gham Jahnavyai Namaha. Anyway, I was thinking of those things because of the symbolism and the iconography of many different forms of the divine, as we were talking about. That even though there doesn't seem to be a clear difference between left versus right, there's symmetric directions. In our symbolism, there does appear to be a difference. Hello, dear Marlin. You are ambidextrous, dear Miss Bliss. I'm the opposite. I'm anti-dextrous because I was born left-handed. But then my grade 1 teacher, actually no, my kindergarten teacher forced me to be right-handed. And now I'm not good with either hand. I'm anti-dextrous. Dave, you ask, why do I think that most people are right-handed? I think it's a combination of things. Clearly, society plays a big role. And there are parts of our body that aren't symmetric, like the inside of our body. Our heart is on one side. But people who have reversed insides, which can happen in some cases of pregnancy, they too show a preference for right-handedness, so that can't be explained. I did think of something. I really thought about this for a while. And one thing that I did think of that maybe there's a possibility to explore is which fallopian tube the egg came from. I imagine that it's probably pretty equal, 50-50. But there are 2 different ovaries where the egg could come from. And that's something that is different for each of us, whether you came from the left ovary or the right ovary. And I wonder, at a very subtle level, what that symbolizes. Were you a left fallopian tube baby or a right fallopian tube baby? You know? Something I never thought of. I wonder if there's been many studies on that. Dear Maggie, you share that you once met someone who wrote with the right hand, but could draw with the left. I love that. That's so interesting. Yes, I went to school with people who would, do all their schoolwork with their right hand, but in sports, they'd play with their left, or they'd kick with their left, or, Clearly, even the specific things that we do with the left or right can be lateralized differently. Dear Phoenix Witch, Nisha, you're really drawn to that sticker in the sticker pack of subscriptions. That looks like Kali. That's Kali in her half-formless depiction, where you see her eyes and her tongue, but no body, just formless space representing space. Dear G to Infinity, you share that it is said that the eggs release alternatively. That makes sense. Fascinating. So this means that actually it's not a 28-day cycle, it's a 46-day cycle. No, wait, 56-day cycle. Because 1 month you have a left-handed pregnancy. Sorry, not pregnancy, oh my goodness. Could you imagine every month? No. 1 month you have a left-handed period. Next month you have a right-handed period. That's very interesting. I've heard that some people can feel the exact moment that the ovum is released, the exact moment that they ovulate. Maybe you can, if you're already that sensitive, maybe you can feel what side it comes from, and then you can start keeping track. See if your left-handed period has a different kind of flavor than your right-handed. Do the experiences change, whether it comes from the left or right? I imagine it's pretty minimal, because the ovulation is at a different time than the period itself. Namaste, dear Deanna. Yeah. Many of you can feel it. You can totally feel it. It's like instant. That's fascinating. Oh, I was wondering what that sound was. My phone's going off. It was vibrating in a funny way. It almost sounded like the new sounds they have for big vehicles when they're backing up. For a long time they've had the beep sounds. Beep, 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 backing up, but they've changed it to white noise. Sounded like that. I was like, what's backing up in my room? Dear Nick, you ask, what's the concept of Dharma and Rta? And what's the difference? Oh, I love that word, Rta. It's often spelled R-I-T-A, so most people probably know it as Rita. But you've spelled it more accurately. It's more of a rolling R directly into the T. Rta. And it's a beautiful name it makes for someone. Dharma. Dharma is difficult to translate, but it can include any of the following. It can include an individual's righteous duty, the duty that they are to perform to become righteous, to express the inner source of righteousness, like the occupation that you have to play and the service you render others. That's a person's dharma, and it's different. The dharma of a father is different from the dharma of a mother. That's different from the dharma of a baker. That's different from the dharma of a leader. It's your duty that you have. But dharma can be intertwined with a teaching. So someone could be teaching some spiritual truth, and you could call that teaching the dharma. And how you embody that truth, how you live it, that can equally be called the dharma. The path that you take to discover yourself can be called the dharma. So if you can get the similarity between all of those, I guess the essence, if I had to put it into some unified definition, it's the living practice of truth. Dharma is the living practice of truth. Rta is, in my understanding, the cosmic balance. That this whole universe is upheld in a cosmic balance called Rta. That the sun rises, the sun sets. There's a balance between light and dark. There are limitations and possibilities. There's life and death. All of that is part of Rta. And Dharma is a part of the Rta. Because Dharma is a part of the balancing forces of the cosmos. And Dharma is the Rta of society. And you could say that Rta is the Dharma of the universe. Just like we have laws that we abide by in our society, the universe has laws that it abides by too. The difference is just at what scale, what context these laws are being applied. At the level of the individual or at the level of the cosmos. Dharma and Rta. Thank you, dear Deanna, for the Heart Me theme bracelet and tiny that you sent. Yippee! I hope I don't lose my voice to not be able to do the tiny dinies. Yippee! That's better. G to infinity. Yisha, the internet, states that it is a myth that it alternates and the release side is dominant. How interesting. Thank you, dear Rob, for the hat and mustache that you sent a few minutes ago. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. I can do yippee, but in bass. I can do a low E flat. I'm not sure if I know my E flats off the back of my tongue. Yippee. That's the big diny. Yippee. Thank you, Ms. Bliss, for the heart me and baby hippo that you sent. Maybe that's the sound we can give to the hippo. We've got one for the tiny diny, for the baby penguin, for the hippo. Yippee. Thank you. Dear Bro Gumbler, you ask if I can shout. You can't believe it's a possibility for me, since my voice is so calm and soothing. Well, thank you. You know, my voice has never been that loud. I don't think there were many times in my life where I was yelling. Not because I wasn't angry. Believe me, I've been angry. But I've never really raised my voice that high. I'm not a screamer, not a shouter, not a yeller. Sometimes it's awkward. If I see someone I know, I'll just wait until I'm in, talking distance to say anything. I'll see you for 2 minutes before I actually say something, because it takes that long for me to go here to there. And then when we're in close proximity, I'll say hello. So I think you're right. I don't know if I have the capacity to shout. Thank you, dear Miss Bliss, for the paper crane that you sent. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dear Maggie, you share. You don't believe I've ever been angry, to be honest. Oh, I have. I never expressed my anger that often because I would just repress it. And then I would bottle it up, and then it would come out once a year in something really destructive. Like I'd say something I should never say, or there were times when I was younger that I punched someone, or I'd hit them, something like that. Every few years something like that would happen, and then I'd feel so bad. And I think after reflecting on that anger that was expressed, I've gained a much healthier relationship with it. Now, whenever I feel anger arising, and I love the term that Eckhart Tolle uses. He calls it the anger body. Anger almost has its own body, and it enters you, and it almost uses you as its exoskeleton. Pretty visceral terms, but it makes a lot of sense. You can almost feel a body of anger come to move your limbs and your tongue and your mouth. This whole other body of anger appears. So I began to notice the anger body arise. You can feel when it begins to fill your body. It's like redness just fills your frame. And then if you can notice that before it takes expression, before it acts, it uses your body, your mind act, you can almost dismiss it because you know what's going to happen. And just take a deep breath and go and just breathe out the anger body. And that's a practice. And it gets easier after the first time. That's right, dear Phoenix Witch. Anger itself isn't bad. It's how we use it and transmute its energy into action that's important. Well said. Or as you say in Sanskrit, sadhu. I love that connection, dear Mira. The moon cycle and the feminine cycle are both 28 days. And you share that the pain increases by full moon, at least with you. Yes, my mom calls it her moon time. For the question of the day, dear Deanna, you point out this is a very rich question. I am in this world, not of this illusion, yet enjoying it fully. I like the way you put that. And that analogy of an anger body can extend to other emotions too. Gregorji points out, as other emotions are embodied through us as well. Dear Miss Bliss, you gave an answer to the question of the day, but I missed it. Well, thank you for reminding me. Let me see if I can find it. Scrolling back up. You must have said it a while ago. I'm still scrolling. We are not our past. We are not our traumas. We are not our parents' expectations or perfect. I'm glad I took the pilgrimage back into the past to find that, because what an applicable answer for the present and the future. Dear Marlon, you ask, do I believe in the mirrorverse? The one we were talking about. The one in which everything is mirrored. Or is that a coincidence? And that this is also a distinct topic. Sounds very comic book-esque. I may not know what possible other universes may or may not exist. All I know is that this is the one I'm meant to be in, and it has my full attention, and everything that's possible in the past, in the future, in another universe is also possible here and now. And it is up to us to make that a reality. No, that's a good answer to the question of the day, dear Mira. We are not separate individuals whose purpose is to accumulate wealth as separate from anyone else. And dear Phoenix Witch, you've always said as a child that our emotions, thoughts, and ideas flow into the body. They aren't created there. I love that. From some other higher source. It's beautifully said. You are deeply intuitive. And thank you, Miss Bliss, for the pumpkin that you sent too. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Marlon, you were saying how like mirrors are somehow portals of some kind. I love that idea. Yeah. I was thinking about the concept of reflections and animals. Clearly animals have the capacity to recognize their own reflection, but I wonder if they feel like it's a copy of our world, not just a reflection, that it's a whole other mirror universe that just mirrors our own. And so if you're standing behind them in a mirror, they're able to turn around because they saw your reflection, but did that process for them because they understand that it's reflecting the light behind them? Or do they feel like it's a whole other universe, just that whatever happens in front of them also happens behind them? It's a subtle difference. And depending on how you see that, it changes the feeling of seeing your reflection. Because then whenever you see yourself, you can simultaneously say hello, and you know that that other person had the exact same thought at the same time to say hello. Nice to see you again, you both say at the same time. And if you go and kiss the person in the mirror, they're never going to swerve. It's not like you're going to put your lips up and then the other person goes. You can always kiss the person in the mirror. You can always say I love you and have it be received. Emotions are energy in motion. I like that, Marlon. Gregor G, you share the possibility of animals learning sign language. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If I ever came into a large amount of money, a significant portion of that would be invested in human and animal communication. That's what I want to see in the future. I don't care so much about flying cars and a button that you're able to press and it generates a meal on your plate. I want to know how we can use advanced knowledge to connect with Mother Nature. Hello, dear Harley. Evelise, you share in reference to our question of the day. I am not mood swings, however dominating of my experience they feel. Very true. Miss Bliss, you say, imagine if you did try to kiss your reflection in the mirror and it did turn away, you'd freak out. Oh my goodness, right? Yeah. You never look in the mirror again. Being rejected by your own reflection. To reflect or to reject? This is a choice we can make in each moment. Are we going to be reflectors or rejectors? Dear Gregor G, you share that you think computational intelligence will probably help figure out animal communication soon, maybe. Yeah, that's a great use case for it. I see possible. And I like that, Jen. By not being so advanced can we connect with nature? Well said. When I was really young, I remember thinking about the physical. I was really into physics at the time, and I was learning about different kinds of equilibria. There's stable equilibria, and there's unstable equilibria. And equilibrium is when all the forces are in balance, and so there is a kind of stillness. And the simple analogy that every physicist gives is, if you dig a hole and you put a ball at the bottom of that hole, that's a stable equilibrium. That ball isn't moving anywhere. And if you nudge it, it'll move back to that point of equilibrium. If you take a hill and you put a ball right at the exact top of that hill, then it will be an equilibrium, but an unstable equilibrium, because the moment you push it, then it moves away from the equilibrium point. I was thinking about society kind of has two equilibrium points, one stable and one unstable. You can take a technological route to find equilibrium, advanced technologies, but I think it's an unstable equilibrium, because the moment those technologies be redirected in any way other than to create stability, then we will move away from our equilibrium. And so more and more energy is required to maintain a kind of technological civilization. But if I think about ancient humans, or even just modern indigenous, there is another kind of equilibrium, still an entirely still point of human living, where you're not so focused on advancing technology. You just live in very simple ways, holistically, naturally. That's a very stable equilibrium. Now, what if there was a way to combine both? Then instead of living at the top of the hill or at the bottom of a hole, you could live at a saddle point, where in one dimension you were at the top of something, and in the other dimension you were at the bottom, saddle point. One dimension, we have a stable, grounded equilibrium with nature, and in another dimension we have the unstable equilibrium of technology, moving higher and higher, advancing. That's funny. I wasn't expecting that. After talking about civilizations and stable equilibrium points, I look back at chat, and the next comment is Marlon, who said, "My throat hurts." It's funny, dear Marlon. I'm sorry to hear that, though. I'm not laughing at your hurt throat. I love how we're able to transition from one topic to another and feel like everything goes. That makes me happy. Honey is really good for that. Taking a spoonful of honey. Honey and ginger. Really good. Honey, ginger, and ghee. Oh, that's the trifecta. If you can mix some ghee, some honey, and some ginger, oh. You'll be singing in no time. Hello, dear Ashley. We could use some permaculture. Let's take a step back, right? There's so much room to just slow down. You know, what's the rush? we've got a long time to figure out how to make our phones better. I think our phones are pretty good. I'm happy with them. Of course, there's always going to be areas of improvement, but there's opportunities to improve some things that maybe we forgot about along the way. We can take a step back and maybe redirect some more attention to some of those things. Tea is good, nice warm tea. If you're wondering what I said, it was ghee. Ghee, G-H-E-E. Ghee, clarified butter. It's like almost at the melting point where it would become an oil. You know, you just breathe on it, it becomes liquid. Ghee is butter. It's unsalted butter with all of the solids that are not milk fat removed, like lactose and everything like that. Traditionally, like in India, for example, they wouldn't eat regular butter because they felt like it had some things that weren't totally healthy, like the lactose, and so they'd extract the lactose and the other impurities and create something called clarified butter, and then they'd use that in their cooking. And it's just literally one ingredient. It is pure milk fat. The healthiest fat, one of the healthiest fats that you can have. Everything else distilled, all of the solids, impurities, what you're left with is something almost holy. And indeed, ghee was considered as sacred, and still is. There are mantras dedicated to ghee itself. One mantra even states that there is one exception for stealing, that nobody should ever steal unless you're out of ghee. Nobody should ever be without ghee. Whatever you can do to get ghee, that's more important. No, I'm not literally recommending that you steal it. But it goes to show the reverence for such a food. And thank you, dear Viberzera, for the team bracelet and heart me. Om Namah Shivaya. I think you can get plant-based ghee now too. Probably. You can get plant-based almost everything. Can ghee only come from Brahmin cows? That's a good question. Theoretically, ghee can come from any cow, but it should really only come from a cow that is treated with absolute respect and dignity and is not going to be slaughtered, but lives a healthy and full life. A cow that is considered as holy and is almost worshipped. It shouldn't come from a cow that's been put in a box and force-fed antibiotics because of the terrible living conditions. There should be a kind of consent that exists, rather than a feeling of, I have to do this, otherwise they'll kill me, kind of thing. Originally, the idea is that this cow is a divine being, and there is a process by which the cow lets you take some milk. But if we force it, then that's not good karma. Nowadays, that's very rare. So you have to find the right source from people that are not just making ghee because it sells, but because it's part of part of culture, part of their spiritual tradition, and there's respect and understanding, mutual respect and understanding. You bet Krishna treated his cows nicely. Yes, he was very good at that. I do know that. Much of his stories take place around cows, and that's why he's known as Govinda. Go is the Sanskrit word for cow, and that's where we get the English word cow, incidentally, from go. And so one of the names for Krishna is Govinda, the caretaker of cows. I like that. I like a name for the divine being, the caretaker of cows. It's beautiful. Goes along with Pashupati, a name for Shiva that means the Lord of animals. And Lord in also a similar connotation of a caretaker. The one who is the friend to all animals. And thank you, dear Ten How You, for your heart me. Ram Ram. If you study religion, the history of religion, the origin of religion from a scholarly standpoint, one of the first forms of theism was animalism, animism. It relates to animism. And it's the idea that one of humanity's earliest forms of religion is surrounding animals. That the personification of all animals, of all life, of all animated life, that is one of the first concepts of divinity, as whatever essence is the Lord of all animals. Pashupati. Call it soul, call it spirit, that which pervades all animals. It's one of the earliest forms of spirituality for humans. And I think that's really beautiful. That and fertility. Animals and fertility is one of the first things that humans considered as sacred. It's the process of creating and sustaining life. Hello, dear Mirna. Welcome. Dear faithful being, an answer you give to our question of the day is that we are not our feelings, as those will always go. Right? And if they go, then what's left? What's already here? If we do not go along with the feelings, then we must be something else. Dear Gregor G, you share, the ancient humans saw the animals had life like they, and they were amazed. And you still are today. That is pure poetry, dear Gregor G. I need to put that on the fridge. I need to create a new segment or a new feature of our live stream called The Fridge, where I just pan over to a picture of the fridge, of a really big fridge, and then I type out some quotes from you all. It's going on the fridge, that's for sure. We're making it to the fridge. You know, like when you make something for your parents or guardians, They put it in the fridge. It's like, we've made it. That's the museum. You know? For a child artist, true measure of success is making it on the fridge. Thank you, dear Gav, for the septet of roses that you sent. Om Sharim Mahalakshmiyai Namaha. And dear Doom Knight, you share, we are not our body. You know that much. And you're skeptical of the mind as well. I like the way you put that. You know, we may have heard people say we are not the mind, but until that becomes a realization, we can remain skeptical. I'm skeptical of that mind. Not sure if that's me or not yet. That's very, very true. I like that. Rahina, thank you for the heartbeat that you sent. Om Namah Shivaya. Dear Gregor G, you share, you would love nothing more than to be a part of the Fridge of Fame. The Fridge of Fame. That's the name. Yeah. I'll get on that. Brokamler, you share, after 1 month, we count who had the most quotes and we collectively appreciate them. I love that. Yeah. As long as we don't make it a challenge. Like we are valuing ourselves only based on such or comparing others. Got to do some workshopping to ensure that it's all inclusive. Wow. I think this is one of the most beautiful answers to the question of the day, dear Attica. You like to think that we're not alone. Our true self is connected to everything. That deserves some cheers. I forget I have that button. Thank you for that. And thank you, Miss Bliss, for your team cheers. That's perfect timing, actually. Your quartet of them. Radhe, Radhe. Kev, you share, you used to be a fridge artist. Now you just do TikTok. You've gone to the fridge to the clock, I guess. Just changing the the household article of housing our artistic merit. Dear Mirna, you're not familiar to the fridge expression. That must be hilarious. At least I think it's hilarious. I think one of the funniest things is being without context. And to not have context to making it on the fridge, I think is hilarious. I almost don't want to reveal that to you. But the idea is, in the West, fridges are where we house important documents that need to be seen, or pictures, as they're magnetic. So when a child makes something for their parents, and you know, the parent wants to show appreciation, that they take a magnet and they put it on the fridge so that every time someone walks past the fridge you can see it. And people are always in and out of their kitchens. That's the place to be. You have a piece of art, you want it on the fridge, as a child at least. Dear Miss Bliss, you share that your art is on display at the local library this month. My goodness, the big fridge. You're moving up in the world. That's wonderful. And I echo G2 Infinity's sentiment of perhaps sharing that with us. I would love to showcase that here too. Mirna, you were thinking inside the fridge. That's hilarious. Yeah, place a piece of art inside the fridge, let it cool. What's the symbolism of that, you're wondering? Why put what they made in the fridge? So it figuratively lasts longer? So it figuratively lasts longer? I am fridge, shares Regina. Let us be the fridge for the children of the universe, to put their paintings and portraits within the space that we have to showcase the creativity of life. Thank you, Phoenix Witch, for the 15 team chairs, a heart me, and a pair of team bracelets too. Ram Ram. And Jen, you share. I'm going to read this in first person because it's more poetic that day. And I stand here now, 4 feet away from my fridge, observing very important things. That's going on the fridge. Right, Greg RG? It's because your art is fire. Gotta cool it down. Merciless, if I pronounce your name right, you ask, am I a religious person? It depends what you mean by that, since it can mean many things to different people. If you're wondering if I follow any specific religion or religious practices, the answer would be no. But I do find a lot of value in spirituality and the many different forms that it may take for you or I. Thank you, dear Anna, for your rose that you shared too. Om Kringalikaye Namaha. You wish you could have a boyfriend like me, dear, says dear June Jupiter. That reminds me of a funny story. There was once a great monk named Swami Vivekananda. This is true. And he was a brahmachari, which is someone who retains the vital energies to create life in a different way than between two people in a relationship. And after giving a beautiful talk on spiritual things, a woman approached Swami Vivekananda and she said, "You are one of the most beautiful beings I've ever met." And she was very upfront. "I would like to marry you and have your children so that this world has another person like you in it." And Swami Vivekananda's response is just classic. He said very succinctly, "And you are so beautiful, like the Divine Mother. You can be happy knowing that there is already a child of yours like me, for I am that, dear Mother." And in a single response, simultaneously upheld his own boundary of brahmacharya, as well as validating the wishes of the person before him. And I thought that was a very beautiful story. Thank you, dear Jarrett, for the lovely music. What a lovely gift. And you are like music to me, for you create harmonies that add to the decoration of time that we share in this space. Thank you. See if I remember the latest mantra that I've learned for you in your honor. Om Sadhyo Jatam Prapadyami Sadhyo Jataya Namo Namaha Bhave Bhave Nati Bhave Bhavasva Mam Bhavod Bhavaya Namaha. That is for you, dear Jared. Now don't ask me what it means. I haven't gotten there yet. Dear Sensei, you ask, if space and time is also a manifestation of consciousness. Yes, good. Therefore, consciousness experiences space and time. That's right. Well said. Dear Marlon, you ask, what was the point of something I said? I'm sorry, I've lost the context now. I'm not sure. As with most things in this live stream, there is no point in particular. So don't try to wrap your mind around something which isn't necessary for your happiness. You share your feeling sleepy. I mean, you have beautiful dreams and a restful sleep. You certainly won't be missing anything. And thank you, dear Ron, for the heart me that you sent. Om Bram Bhairvai Namo Namaha. What was the point of the story I told? The point is that Swami Vivekananda wished to maintain his celibacy without invalidating the love that was coming from this person before them. And so that story is a reminder that through the right selection of words, we can respectfully set boundaries whilst also accepting the love that comes from someone else and guide them in a perspective which can yield to them even more happiness. Dear Sensei, you ask, does it happen to me that I speak contradiction, like insights, for example? I'm not sure exactly the context in which this question is being asked, but the spiritual path is ripe for contradiction. There are so many contradictions, indeed. And whereas perhaps logic has the purpose of resolving contradiction, spirituality has a purpose to dissolve into contradiction. You can either resolve contradiction or dissolve into contradiction. That actually life is fundamentally a contradiction. A contradiction that simultaneously you are nothing and you are everything. And because that's a logical impossibility, This makes it a spiritual possibility. That what is impossible in the world is possible in spirit. This is actually a logical point. Ironically, the great logician Gödel, in his incompleteness theorems, he was able to prove that no fully fledged system of reasoning can be both complete and consistent simultaneously. So you have to sacrifice one or the other. The question is, do you want your system of reasoning to be complete or consistent? Science has favored consistency. Mathematics has favored consistency. You'll never find an equation not working. Spiritualists have favored completion, that there is an explanation or perspective for any inquiry that can yield insight, even if that perspective inherently contradicts another or seems to contradict another. So, in loose terms, in no absolute terms, but there is truth to saying that through logic you can find a consistent worldview, but not a complete one. But through spirituality you can find a complete worldview, but not a consistent one. So you have to allow for a letting go of consistency. Which basically means there are going to be contradictions. If you never want to contradict yourself, then pure science, logic is the way. But if you're brave enough to be a walking contradiction, to find a kind of complete understanding, then spirituality is the way. Now I would like to begin to wrap up our live stream over the next, say, 20 minutes or so, just to let you all know. I love your answer to the question of the day, dear Crown Prince. We are not beyond hope. We all deserve a chance to be better if we're willing to do the work. I like that. But to be clear, dear June, I am at this moment not seeking a relationship in a romantic sense. But that doesn't mean there isn't an opening for a more spiritual kind of intimacy, one that is inclusive to all, one that is not about bringing bodies together, but bringing hearts and minds together. And there's room for all of us there. I like that, dear Mirna. Wisdom is knowing you're nothing. Love is knowing you're everything. That's beautiful. And Sensei, you asked, who's my favorite philosopher? You know the answer to this. I've told you before. You are my favorite philosopher. Thank you for sharing that, dear Nokmak Media. And Lakonin, your answer is that we are not what we see in the mirror. It always lies. We need to clean our mirror, remove any distortions. Dear Sensei, you ask, is being moral present in the deepest core of existence? Is being moral present in the deepest core of existence? Or is it just relative? I love that question, the way you ask that. I believe you will find that those who are living highly moral lives are ones who are very present, not just on the surface, but to the deepest core of their existence. I'll put it like that. And that's a great way of putting it, dear grateful human. Spiritual polyamory. Love from one source to many bodies and minds, and love from many bodies and minds to one source. All right. Thank you all for participating in our manana. I would like to now transition to our Shravana. Nope, I lied. Shravana is where we came. Nididhyasana is where we're going. Crown Prince, you asked, am I accepting friend applications? I have no such application form to be a friend. I consider myself a friend to all those who accept my friendship, of course. However, I can't be everyone's friend in the sense of sending good morning or good night texts or showing up to your birthday party or things like that. So I have to be careful with my words because I don't want to make a parasocial relationship for anyone. But as long as we understand each other's boundaries and rules, then I happily extend friendship to all. And dear Sensei, you ask, this will probably be the last question I answer before diving into our meditation for tonight. How do I jump from everything is me to this is your karma, this is your way, this is your path? If everything is you, then this is what you have to work with. And what you have to work with is called your karma. And the only way that can be made for you is the one that you pave for yourself with what you got. Your path is forged by what you make of what you have now. And what you have now is a reflection of what you are. So I think all of these things can be true simultaneously. And it is through the connection between each of these can we shift from one perspective to another. And it's 10:30 p.m. where I am, dear Jeff Neo. Thank you for understanding, dear Crown Prince. And thank you, Anna, for your ice cream cone. Om Namah Shivaya. Alright, I would like to do a meditation with you all tonight to end our live stream. The meditation I have tonight is another one that I've created from the Kamika Agama, which is an ancient South Indian scripture on the nature of many things, particularly pertaining to spiritual practice. It's in the Kamika Agama, for example, that we find an understanding of how to construct many mantras and specific bijas, or so-called seeds, that generate certain effects within ourselves. So I've gone through all of the sounds and I've created a mantra, or I should say it revealed itself to me, because I am certainly not the origin of this mantra. It is eternal. It just happened to be the one that made itself available to be chanted perhaps for the first time in a long time here, to put it like that. I'm wondering even if I can show you how that process happened. If I can just bring up the very same PDF that I talked about previously. And if you want access to this PDF, please let me know. This document, this Google Doc, it has the seed sound along with its color, its presiding deity, and the power that it has. And so I've gone and made this list, and I've decided today I wanted to do a mantra created from this row together. From the seed, ta. And I'll tell you how to pronounce that in a second. Its color is white, Sita, and its deity is Chandra, the moon, and it has the power of destroying death. Specifically, destroying untimely death, so that you ward off any possible accidents that could happen. That is the intention that this mantra has. So, because it has the bija, ta, and it's dedicated to Chandra, the moon, I have compiled this mantra today. Om Dham Namaschandraya. All mantras must start with Om. Just how it works. Om is the mantra of all mantras. From Om, all things follow. And I've turned that syllable ta into one that has an anuswara at the end, tam, turning it into a nasal, just like all the bija syllables, all the seed syllables are formed. And you can see the word Chandra in it, which is the moon. And I've added the suffix aya to it, which is how we create the dative form of a word in Sanskrit, which means that it becomes a word which is addressing Chandra. It's to Chandra, Chandraya. And Namaha is in there, which means salutations, but you might not notice it is, because at the end of the word Namaha, we breathe out. That's called a visarga, an expulsion of breath. And depending on the word that follows, the breath takes a different form. So from our salutations, we breathe into Chandra. And so the breath takes on a similar place in the mouth where we begin the word Chandra. That initial sound of Chandra, ch, 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 is palatal, meaning we arch up the tongue to the palate to make that sound, cha. When we breathe out, making that same place of articulation, then that picks up sh, sh sound. Namaschandraya, Namaschandraya. So we're joining the breath of our salutations at the beginning of Chandra. Altogether, this mantra means something like, Om, I invoke the essence of the death-destroying moon. Salutations to thee. Om Dham Namaschandraya. And a final note of pronunciation, that bija, tam, you might notice it has a dot under the T. That's to indicate that this is no ordinary T. It's a kind of T that exists in other languages, but not English. Instead of touching your tongue to your teeth to make the sound ta. You curl it back and you flick the bottom of the tip of your tongue against your hard palate. Ta, ta, ta. So you produce it with the bottom of the tip of your tongue against the hard palate, just behind your teeth. Ta. And you'll notice there's an H there as well, and that indicates that it's aspirated. So it's a hard ta, but with extra breath. Tum, tum. Om Tham Namaschandraya. And I thought we'd do it 108 times together. I forgot to get a mala. I suppose I can use the one on my neck. This will be what will keep track of the repetitions, since you don't want to go Om Tham Namaschandraya 1, Om Tham Namaschandraya 2. Just pure mantra. A mala will hopefully keep track of it for you, and a mala should always have 108 beads plus one that acts as the guru bead. So we start at the guru bead, the bead after, and then we just finger our way all the way around until we get back to the guru bead, and that tells us when to stop. I will do that for us all today. Without further ado, I'll begin. Om Tham Namaschandraya. 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 Om Dham 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 Namaschandraya. Thank you for listening or chanting together. May that be an offering to the moon, and may the moon bless us with the ability to live a long and healthy life. May you receive the benefits of my chanting, especially those who did not or were not able to chant themselves. May you receive the benefit on behalf of me. Namaste. Now, we have come to the end of our Sangha. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being a part of the space. Dear Magdalene, you share that you thought of each of us while chanting. I love that. Now, I'm grateful for the presence here. And I mean that in the sense of the presence, Presence. As that is the greatest gift. May I consider all that was shared, process it, and return tomorrow with more compassion in my heart, more understanding of each of our journeys. And thank you for making that a possibility for me, for expressing yourself, or for just being a silent listener, as I know there are many of you out there too. Some from the future. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity within you. Asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to deathlessness. May there be peace in the environment, may there be peace in ourselves, and may there be peace in the forces that compel us. Thank you, dear Gina, for your pair of rosy roses. Radhe Radhe. May you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, your evening, your night, your morning, whatever it may be for you. May you have a blessed rest of your present moment. Namaste.